Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. All right, what's up, everybody? Supreme Decisions here, and today or tonight, I'm actually getting ready to talk about. Let's talk about today, but I want you to look at the title. Why do defense attorneys play nice with prosecutors? Now, the reason I actually sat down and put things together to even talk about this is because today was interesting because a couple of days ago we had an issue where we had several issues that dealt with clerks. Got food all over my chin, so you know it was good. But anyway, and I spoke about the clerks that we were having issues with and things of that nature. So what I've done tonight. Let's do this. I want to talk to you a little bit because I'm looking at what I wrote, and even in the context of that, I actually want to do. Let's have a conversation, and then I'll get into it because what is going to involve into is basically why are most defense attorneys punks? I guess that's the only thing I can say about it. Now, let me start off with the stories from today. Today, I had one young man that I'm helping with his case, and his public defender told him they weren't going to do certain aspects of their job. So I gave him what is known as a client autonomy letter. And that's just basically letting her know the law in which she has to abide by and what the expectations of her client is or are. The expectations are. Well, this is where the funny came out. And I'm not going to say any names because I don't have physical things from her side in hand. So I'm not going to say her name. But the long and short was she spoke about how the motions that were prepared on his behalf were well written. Let's use that. Well written. And she pretty much asked, how do we get here and what do we get, blah, blah, blah. And he actually pointed her right back to the client autonomy letter. He says, this is my plan. These are motions I want you to file. Now, in the context of this, I'm not going to go into the entirety of the conversation, but she spoke about what she was not going to do for the client. She told the client that she was only going to negotiate what she was comfortable negotiating with. Now, what she also didn't realize was while she was speaking, she was also giving him grounds to file sanctions against her. Because again, the client autonomy letter went over the law. And she gave him a lot of half-truths. But the context, again, I'm going to give you the context of it. Because she told him that she would not file the motions for him. Now, the great part about that is there is a reason that she could actually do that. But she took that reason away because she said, not because the motions were frivolous. They were well written, according to her. Not because they didn't go along with the plan that the client came up with. She said she's not going to do what the client wants. She stated the reason she wasn't going to file them was because it would anger the prosecutor. I couldn't stop laughing when he told me that, because I was like, what does the prosecutor have to do with your emotions? And here's the next part. The simple fact that she refused to do something against the prosecutor, she actually put her job in jeopardy to not challenge the prosecutor in defending this young man. She took an opportunity to actually have sanctions filed against her. And then here's the next part about it. She attempted to then lie to him about what he could do and how he could do it, because she would give him half truths. And in that lie, she told him he could not file or leave a copy on the record about her behavior, because that's not allowed. That is a lie. Because here's the next part. Why would she even bring up the fact that she's not going to negotiate something for her client when her client is the one who is in charge? Now, I'm going to leave that alone, because we actually broke down, just by her saying a couple of things, that she actually did wrong. You know, I'm actually finish one more thing, because it was also interesting. Because he actually reiterated something that was in the client assignment letter. And she pointed out, if I file these, not only would the prosecutor be angry, right? But the prosecutor would add more charges to him. That is called vindictive prosecution. But now it also makes the defense attorney a co-conspirator. They are an actor in concert, because she's saying that she's going to allow the prosecutor to add on if he forces her hand to file these motions. I don't know how many times I can say it. I don't know how many times I can point it out. But I speak about constantly, if they have a bar card, they are on the same team. Because why would, if we're opposing adversaries, why do I need my adversary's permission to be confrontational with them? Why would I need my adversary's permission to do my job for my client, if that's what this is? Now, I am getting ready to go into another one. There was a second story. Young lady, she employed an attorney. And she called. She was like, look, I want you for guidance. Just be here for guidance. And I was like, I appreciate that. Now, the context was, she asked, which this was the beautiful part to me. Because, again, defense attorney, she's paying him money, not a public defender. It's coming out of her pocket. She asked me give me a couple questions to ask him. I give her 3. He responds with one answer to the 3 questions. He doesn't answer all 3. He just answers one question. And in the midst of that, he puts in writing a lie. That is the first thing that he does. He lies about what he's able to do. Then he tells her, I'm going to see if the prosecution does not mind if I ask for bail. I'm going to repeat that. The person she is paying told her a lie about what he was able to do, and I showed her that immediately. And then he spoke out of his mouth, well, through text, I am going to ask the prosecution if they don't mind if I ask for bail, which is her right and part of his fee. Now, the one thing that I want to point out is, for whatever reason, most of these people that are on the defense and all that good stuff, they actually believe they can do whatever they like, whenever they like, however they like. When in fact, they are bound by statutes, codes, and ordinances. And in the midst of these statutes, codes, and ordinances, they have things that they can and can't do. Goodness. Now, the great part about it is you are not without remedy. But few people know what those remedies are because, again, you're given half-truths to begin with. And then once you get these half-truths, no one is showing you how to go about holding these people accountable. Goodness, I haven't sneezed all day. Now, let me get a little sippy sip. All right. And no one tells you how to hold these people accountable. Now, at the same time, no one also tells you that they are employees. Now, I want to give you an example. Let's say you have a business. You have people that you're trying to help make your business effective. They do a job, you pay them for the job that they're doing. You are the boss, they are the employee. Now, how does that apply to defense attorneys? You have a job. You have a business. Your business is your life. You hire someone to protect you and protect your life. They are an employee. Why? Because they are being paid to protect your life. They have guidelines which they must follow, and if they do not follow that, there is a recourse for it. But very few people understand that. And even they don't understand it because very few people actually hold them accountable for it. Now, if I'm paying you to do a job, you are the employee. Hence, the client autonomy. Because the client is the one that's in charge. Now, there are several avenues that you can take. One is just like I just spoke about, the client autonomy letter. You put together this letter and explain to them there are certain things that you must do. It's not a choice. It's not an idea, and it's not anything that you can take for granted. Right? You either do it or you don't. And if you don't do it, I can put it on the record. Once I put it on the record, the next part of that is now then reaffirming either you're going to do the job or I'm going to have someone else do that job. I'm going to put that on the record as well. But again, it's about the verbiage. It's about the understanding how it's executed. And it's also about the whole point of protecting you, not only for now, but for down the road. Because again, have another story. Because the common denominator is the fact that you have defense attorneys that don't want to defend. Had a young man in South Georgia. I believe I've given this story once before. He was paying a young lady to defend him in a case. He hired me as a side consultant. Well, the day he hired me, he wanted to file a motion. Basically, it was incredible because it was a detailed discovery. His attorney tells him, "Oh, I've already filed discovery." He goes, "Well, why not get this information with discovery?" Because He showed her the Georgia statute that allowed for her to get the information he was requesting. And part of that was the police officer's records, which was the Brady and Giglio information. She did not want to do it. She then sends him, again, in writing, two cases where he could not get Giglio information. I told him, I looked at him and I said, get her on the phone because she's lying to you. That's all I was like, get her on the phone because she's lying to you. If you don't mind me speaking to her, let's do that. So she agreed to speak with me. He gets her on the phone. We reiterate the case and the things that he's looking for in his case because he is the one who determines how his life is going to be defended. Why? Because he's the boss. So, in the midst of having this conversation, I get her to admit that she gave him a half-truth, which is a lie. And I told her, I said, exactly. I said, I want you to understand something. You just admitted that you lied because you gave him 2 appeals cases. And in Georgia, a statute states if you don't request it prior, you can't bring it up during appeal. Now, you sent him a case that were appellate cases, which means they could not bring up something they did not request in the original trial. And she admitted to yes, that's what she did. Now, why did she do that? Because she is getting fed by the state. They send her people. They sent him to her. Why? Because she's not a high dollar lawyer, but she's also not a public defender. So they are feeding her. He had to pay her money for that defense. She's okay with getting him convicted and not being able to win an appeal. Because again, it's not about law, it's about revenue generation. So they will use all these little tactics and they'll tell you, here's the great part about it. I got you a plea. Even with the first young man who she said, I'm not going to negotiate a lower sentence. I'm not going to negotiate a lower charge. But she said, I will if you accept this felony that he's not guilty of. I will negotiate your prison time. He was like, I'm not trying to go to prison. He said, because prison is the felony. Probation is the misdemeanor. Why would I be willing to accept a felony and go to prison whenever the other option is misdemeanor and I just pay you money while I'm at the house? And the idea that she believed it, and she, like I said, she threw herself under the bus because she stated that it wasn't frivolous, it was well written, and it was part of his wanted defense. It's the defense he wants, that he is in charge of. And even if it's done, she would not even argue for it because she doesn't believe that he should be getting something less. And even in the context of this, when your attorney that you're hiring does not do the things that you're asking them to do, that is illegal. That is a violation of their codes and standards. That is a violation of law. Now, I had a conversation with another young man. He was talking about a federal statute. Now, in the context of the federal statute, I had to tell him, I said, read towards the bottom. And as he read towards the bottom, he understood the charges are through discretion. You can still sue based on the violation. Them being charged is for someone else's discretion because their teammate has to decide if it's okay to charge them. So understand the what do you call that? The prayer of serenity. Control the things that you can control and accept the things that you cannot. And this is one of those where whenever you're dealing with me and you have an attorney or whatever, I will guide you where you need to go, and I will make sure your attorney does what they're supposed to do. But those are the things that are within your control. What's not in your control is their response to what's being done. You can't control their response. Don't try to. But understand, they're going to play nice because the prosecutor is feeding them. They're on the same team. Because hell, even the other young lady, he spoke about how, he said, yeah, let me call the DA right now because we're friends. And I told her, I said, yes, because they're going to one another's weddings. And I told her, I said, here's the biggest thing. And the reason why he's asking for permission, because it's not okay to just run and punch your brother in the mouth. These are the things where I'm good with because I'm an out-of-town shooter. I'm not part of their program. I don't have to abide by their rules. They do. I don't. I can be as aggressive as I like. I can be as aggressive as you allow me to. And these are the things where I constantly tell you, piranha don't eat piranha. Because again, like I said, I literally wrote just writing. I've been writing for the past 4 hours, which is crazy. Because I want to sound intelligent going through this, right? But at the end of the day, it's these stories. These aren't the only ones I have, but these are the ones from today. And it just blows my mind that people believe that these people go out and do some other things and not defend. Because it goes back to the Tommy Sotomayor question. I literally did this maybe 2 or 3 years ago. You have police officers who don't know law. You have prosecutors who do not care about law. You have defense attorneys who don't defend, and judges don't care either way. Whether they're defending or they're not defending. It's all money to them because it's about revenue and it's not about law. Which is why they don't know, because it's amazing the amount of attorneys who don't know law. Because when he hands that sheet over, even the young man when I did the video, Why You're Not Winning in Court, it was amazing because dude was like, I've been doing this 30 years. I've never seen this. The fact that he's never seen it means he's not used to being challenged in 30 years. Because for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. For every move, every motion, there's a counter motion. But it's all about putting it together properly. But it's also understanding how to be in your most powerful, because having someone else represent you that has a bar card, they are not on your team. Always remember that, because they believe they can make choices for you. I actually had, just give you another one I'm gonna throw out there. Had one in South Carolina. This was a few months ago. He actually sent his client to prison. His client never made it to court. He signed, and here's the great part about it. You ready? This defense attorney was also a paid defense attorney. He didn't do it to just one. He's done it to at least 2 that I know of in the last 60 days. He's signed deals for his clients to go to prison. 2 of them, at least 2, in the last 60 days. And while that's illegal as hell, most people have no idea it's being done. Had a young man down in Florida, he hired an attorney. The attorney did not file one sheet of paper except for the entry of appearance, which you have to file saying you're on a case. Didn't file another sheet of paper. Talked him into taking a deal. So when he asked him for the accounting, because again, he paid him a few $1,000s. He actually said, yeah, I made a phone call. My phone call was $2,000 worth. And he said it doesn't matter now because you took the deal. Because he looked at him as an authoritarian and he just accepted what he had said to him. These guys are not on your team. Matter of fact, I actually did a live show. I believe it was during COVID. It was either 2020 or it was the end of 2020. I did a live show. I want to say it was either in October 2020 or November 20. I know it was October 2020. Let's call it October. Give me a second. I actually did. If you go look, it is still up. Attorney down in Florida. He, again, young man calls me and said, hey, I need you here for guidance because I don't like how this guy is moving. That's all he said. So I give him the detailed discovery because remember I told you, they don't like filing or don't know what a detailed discovery is. So when he gave it to him, he goes, oh no, I can't file that because that's illegal stuff and it's I forgot what the words he used. Anyway, he said that he wasn't able to file it because it was illegal. I went down the list of the detailed discovery. I held it side by side with the Florida rules of discovery. They were exactly the same, but he told his client he could not do it because it was illegal. I want you to let that sink in. I held the detailed discovery up to the Florida rules of discovery. They were identical, yet the attorney who has to follow the rules of discovery said that the rules of discovery were illegal. Yes, I pause for dramatic effect because I want you to understand I don't just say this stuff because I don't like people, because I don't like certain things. I'm telling you this because when you go to think they're on your team, you're going to need someone to hold them accountable for the BS that they're going to bring because they will not go against the prosecution. If you look at how you're going to press them, they are going to look to make a deal. They are not going to look to win. So that's actually what I got tonight. I was going to go longer and, like I say, talk about some clever stuff. But again, those examples are better than anything else because, again, you see that it's not an isolated incident. It's not one of those one-offs. It's not something that's rare. It is really reflections of the things I see. They are evidence of the things I say. And all you have to do is sit still and watch because they will not defend you unless you absolutely force them to. And then in many cases, the judge will allow you to then represent your own interests, which you should have done in the first beginning. Because even one of the conversations I was having with a young lady, her attorney told her she can make payments. And then she can make payments for the next year and a half or however long it was. But it was longer than, and I told her, I said, this case should be done in 90 days. Why would I and then we had the conversation of why would there be an option for something faster if I'm trying to get payment from you, why would I not drag it out? Because the longer I drag it out, the more money I make. So there is no incentive for me to end this case fast. And I told her, I said, here's the next part about it. You have a case where you can file a speedy trial motion and it can be over in 90 days simply because of the things that they're saying happened and what they have against you. I said, why is your attorney that you're paying not telling you that? Why is your attorney that you're paying telling you he's going to allow it to drag out 10, 12 months or longer? When it's something that can be cleared off the books in the next 3, why would I be trying to go 12? Because you're making payments. because you're going to be paying me as long as I'm doing this case. Because it's about revenue. It's not about law, and it's not about helping the client. Understand? Because just like actually, I'm about to get off, but I actually had a conversation with a young lady because she asked me why would she use me? And I told her, I said, it's easy. I'm an out-of-town shooter. My only interest is getting paid and making sure you get the outcome you're looking for that you've paid for. That's it. I'm not on their team. I don't have a bar card. I have no interest in doing what they do. My job is to make sure you win if that's what you're looking for. Now, at the same time, you have to be prepared to walk through fire to get there. Because as you see, they're going to threaten you with, oh, well, we're going to add more charges. Well, that's vindictive prosecution if you do that. And if you allow it to happen with no recourse behind it, and you just go along with it, you are now a co-conspirator in malicious prosecution. You can actually file sanctions on your defense attorney. You can actually go after them for the money you spent on. Like, there are a plethora of avenues in which you can do that. But the whole point is understanding they're not on your team to begin with. And if you want them to, you can have them there. It's great to have them there. Public defender as well. They have to do what you're asking them to do. And you can have a guide to make sure they're doing what they're supposed to do. And again, not to toot my own horn, but BB, she stated that the documents that she had gotten that I wrote for him, he didn't tell her it was for me, but these are well written. And for an attorney to be impressed by motions from someone they've never seen, that lets you know the motions are for real. Because I'm not going to send you in there with trash. I'm going to, and I always tell people, you're going to actually get the motions that you can read. You're going to have a physical, you can put your hands on them. You can go back and reference. Because you don't have to come back and ask me what was filed, when it was filed, or how it was filed, because you're going to have it. You don't have to ask me a lot of the extra questions that you would have to ask them because you're in control, not me. You do whatever it is that you like because I'm going to keep you in the best form that you are naturally in. So, thank you guys. Let's keep going. Let's keep growing. Don't forget the consultations are in the link. Don't forget to support the channel. You can do super chats as well as donations. And if you need an immediate contact, don't forget to hit that email that's in the description.